Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about what it really means to master a language. It's so much more than just memorizing words, right? It's about speaking with real confidence and, well, with a purpose.
Ugh, you know that feeling, right? You've got all the words rattling around in your head, you've done the flashcards, but the second you try to speak, nothing. Your brain just hits a wall. Well, guess what? You are definitely not alone. And the fix isn't just cramming more vocab. It's actually about understanding how speaking works in the first place.
Which brings us to this big question. What does fluent even mean? I mean, we use that word all the time, but for the scientists who actually study how we learn languages, it's way more specific than you might think.
Yeah, most of us just think fluent means fast. But let's be real. If you're talking a mile a minute but nobody can understand you, are you really fluent? Not so much. Researchers like the folks at the University of Reading say the real picture is a whole lot more interesting. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The scientific term they use is utterance fluency. Sounds fancy, right? But all it really means is that fluency isn't just one thing. It's actually a mix of a few different things that all come together to create that smooth, natural-sounding speech we're all aiming for. And this is where it gets super practical. Fluency basically boils down to three key things. First, there's speed, that's the obvious one, how fast you talk. Then there's breakdown, which is all about how often you pause. You know, the ums and uhs that break up your flow. And finally, there's repair, which is just how often you have to stop and correct yourself. So to get truly fluent, you can't just focus on speed, you've got to work on all three. Okay, so now that we know what fluency is made of, how do we actually get better at it? Well, let's look at some really practical tools you can start using right away. Because once you see the building blocks, you can start putting them together.
And here's a tip that might sound a little backward at first. The best way to get ready for a big, important conversation, it's not always more talking, it's writing. I know, but trust me, using a pen is one of the most powerful ways to unlock your voice.
Think about it. When you write, you're not on the spot. You have time to actually organize your thoughts without that pressure. You can pick out better, smarter words, instead of just grabbing the first simple one that comes to mind. And maybe the biggest thing, it seriously helps with anxiety. I mean, going into a discussion with a few notes in your back pocket, it's like having a safety net. It just makes you feel way more confident.
All right, tool number 2. This one is less about prep work and more about what you do in the moment. It's called hedging. And no, it's not about avoiding the topic. It's all about how you phrase things to be a little softer, more polite, and more respectful. It's an absolute game changer for having smooth conversations.
And you can really see the difference here. Look at the left side. Saying, "I completely disagree," can just shut the other person down, right? But look at the right. "I see what you're saying, but," does the same job, but it invites them to keep talking. It proves you're actually listening, even when you don't agree.
And the best part is, this isn't some complicated grammar rule you have to memorize. It's literally just about sprinkling in a few simple words. So instead of saying, "That's a bad idea," you could say, "I think that might be a little risky." See? The whole tone changes. It just makes you so much better at getting your point across without starting a fight.
Okay, so we've got the science behind fluency and we've got some practical tools, but why? Why do we even bother? Is it just so we can have slightly better chats? Or is there something, bigger going on when we learn a new language?
This quote from Alistair Pennycook really makes you think. He says, language classrooms are basically sites of cultural struggle. Whoa! What he means is that learning a language is never neutral. It's always a little bit political. It's a place where we have to face different ways of seeing the world, different power dynamics, and even question our own beliefs.
And that leads to this really important idea. Are you a tourist or a sojourner? A tourist kind of looks at a culture from the outside, like through a window, and then leaves the same person they were. But a sojourner, they step inside. They really engage. They let the experience challenge them, maybe even change them. They think critically about it all.
And you can actually see this shift happening in the real world, in how we teach languages. The official standards have changed. It used to be about just gaining knowledge about other cultures. Now the key words are interact and cultural competence. The goal isn't just to know facts about a place. It's to be able to actually connect with people there in a meaningful way.
And this whole idea of communicating with intention and skill, well, it has never been more important. Because the next culture or community we all have to learn to talk to isn't even human. We're talking about AI.
Here's the thing. If you ask an AI a boring, simple question, you're going to get a boring, simple answer. Explain photosynthesis just gets you a textbook definition. That's not learning, that's just reading.
To make AI a real partner in learning, you have to level up your questions. Garbage in, garbage out, right?
So how do you do that? Here's a simple framework. First up is C for context. Don't just ask your question. Give the AI a role. Tell it who it is. Something like, act as a tutor for a 10th grade class. That one little sentence completely changes the game and focuses the AI's response.
Next is T for task. Be super specific about what you want it to do. Use strong action verbs. Instead of tell me about, say generate or critique or rephrase. So for our 10th grade tutor, the task is generate 3 open-ended questions.
Then comes another C for constraints. Think of these as the rules of the game. You're setting the boundaries. You could say, make sure the questions are under 30 words, or aim for a 10th grade reading level. This is how you make sure the output is exactly what you need.
And last, but this one is so important, is A for ethics Q. This is where you guide the AI to be, well, a good citizen. You can add something like, make sure the questions are inclusive and don't make assumptions about people. This is how you steer the AI toward being fair and responsible, and it's a crucial step.
So look at where we've been. We started with the science of how we speak. We looked at tools like hedging. We talked about the deeper purpose of connecting with other cultures, and we ended up with how to talk to AI. It all points to the same thing, doesn't it? Mastering a language isn't about swallowing a dictionary. It's about learning how to use your words to build bridges. So the real question for you is, what new world are you going to talk to?